When Juan asked me if I wanted to review Aragami, I was like, "Well, I'm not really sure if Japanese paper folding is my cup of tea." But then he told me it was actually a stealth action game with ninjas, so yeah. It's Jordan here from SwitchWatch. How are you all doing today? It's Valentine's Day, and what a better way to celebrate than sneaking up on people and cutting their throat. So Aragami is actually a story-driven game. The main story mode follows the titular Aragami, who is a conjured entity with the purpose of extracting revenge. Well, sort of. You were called by Yamiko, whose people were killed at the hands of the Kaiho. She's trapped in a temple, and she has a plan to purge the enemy away. That's where you come in, of course. You are tasked with collecting talismans strewn around the country, which will allow you to free the imprisoned empress, who has the power to banish the invaders. Now, I'm not going to go into any spoilers, but let's just say that things are not so simple in this story. While I enjoyed their attempt at doing something a bit special with the story in its climax, I have to say I saw it coming within the first few minutes of the game. And this is coming from someone who always guesses wrong as to where movies are gonna go. It's just that obvious here. So I can't say I didn't enjoy it, and I was surprised at the developers' attempt. It was enjoyable if predictable. According to the developers, Aragami was heavily inspired by Tenchu, the classic stealth games on the original PlayStation. Well, I assume classic, it's been a long time since I played them when I was about 8 years old. I'm guessing they don't hold up that well today. So yeah, what we have here is a stealth game with a sprinkling of action on offer. Your protagonist has supernatural powers to help him in his stealthy ways, but despite his badass persona, he's surprisingly fragile. Being conjured from the shadows, he's naturally adverse to light, and, very conveniently, all the enemies carry light-infused weapons. One hit and you're dead. Stealth is key to this game, and you will want to avoid being seen by the countless guards that litter each level. Thankfully, Aragami is very adept at lurking in the shadows. In fact, that's where your energy meter will regenerate. You have a small handful of key abilities to help you traverse the lands undetected. The most important one is the Shadow Teleport. I have no idea if that's what it's called, but I'm going for it. Within a modest distance, Aragami can aim at a shadow and zip towards it without being seen. This is cool, and is the star of the show when it comes to the mechanics here, but it's only empowered more so by the Shadow Maker. Again, within a modest distance, Aragami can cast his own shadow for a short period of time, allowing him to then use his other move to travel there. When these two are combined together, you can really do some cool traveling that will look effortless. There are a few caveats, however. Firstly, that you cannot cast a shadow anywhere there is a strong light source nearby. This means torches or lanterns will pretty much block your path. Yes, you can walk past them, but as stated, Aragami is made of shadow, and so the light will completely drain his power. And that's the second caveat. You only have so much power before you have to sit and recharge. There is a skill tree of abilities that can change your playstyles. Whether you want to be all-out aggressive or pacifist, you have the option to choose how you want to expand your abilities. In all honesty, I didn't really notice the distinction on this skill set until I thought about it myself. New abilities can be unlocked by collecting the scrolls that are hidden in each of the levels. You will have to explore every nook and cranny to find all of them, because in my experience, I stumbled upon maybe 1 or 2 per level. So they're really well hidden. In all honesty, I found it a bit too simple most of the time. When I think of my ideal stealth game, I think of multiple ways to complete my task, being able to use gadgets and the environment in surprising ways to befuddle the cunning, thoughtful enemy. Aragami tries these, but it's just not clever enough. The enemy AI is very binary, and although each level is surprisingly open, I didn't feel like there was any advantage from going one way or another. Levels needed to be more of a playground to experiment with. Instead, they seemed thrown together rather than having any true meaning or ingenuity behind them. You do have a distracting whistle, which was useful, but I didn't like that you couldn't drag enemy bodies away into the undergrowth. Instead, you can unlock an ability that will make them disappear, so they don't alert other guards to a threat, but it just seemed too cheap and unrewarding. It's not bad, of course. In fact, I rather enjoyed playing it despite the unshakable thought that it could have been so much more. What I did appreciate was the thought of being able to complete this game in a pacifist way. Killing enemies is easy, almost too easy, as long as you don't charge them head on. You can sneak up on them and dispose of them with a single cool, deadly attack. You can even set up traps to take them out. But the thought of sneaking around without killing anyone was really enticing and, no doubt, very difficult. Considering you're graded at the end of each stage means that it might be worth your time to either annihilate every enemy in the level or kill none at all without being seen. This package comes with the Nightfall DLC pack, which adds a whole new campaign with new characters to play as. I feel like this offered some of the better design levels, which you would expect after being released with all the experience gained from the main campaign. Unfortunately, it is a bit short, just like the main campaign, but well worth a playthrough. There is online cooperative multiplayer in which you can take on the entire campaign with a friend. There's no random online games as far as I can tell, this is strictly with friends. Sadly, I did not have the chance to check this feature out for review because this is a pre-release and I didn't know anyone with a copy of the game. If the connection works well enough, then I can see this being a great feature where communication is key, although maybe that's not the Switch's strong point. The audio is very well done. The soundtrack from Two Feathers is really amazing, and the main theme alone is beautiful. There's lots of Asian influence as you'd expect, and I can't recommend giving it a listen enough. It can be peaceful, haunting, and has an alert theme that heavily reminded me of Metal Gear Solid, although you might get sick of it after hearing it so often. Anyways, the soundtrack is out there, free on YouTube, or available to purchase if you want to support the artist, and I recommend you do so. I will say that I was not wholly sold on the voice acting, or should I say a lack of it. When characters speak, they are speaking in a mumbled, purposely distorted language as so to make it more universal. I wouldn't normally be against that, but I found it an issue when, during me sneaking around during gameplay, Aragami and Yamiko would chat together, often giving important exposition, and I either had to stop somewhere safe to be able to take it in, or ignore it and keep playing. If they'd have spoken English, selfish of me I know, I would have been able to keep up with the story more easily, so I was a bit disappointed in this aspect. I think Aragami looks gorgeous. It's stylish as hell with its striking red main character against a dark moonlit backdrop. When in shadows you turn gloriously abyssal with your energy meter beaming out of you in a stark white. The art style has favoured a more cartoony comic book style, which is okay, but it does make it look older than it actually is thanks to the lower polygons put in to make the environments and characters. You wouldn't be surprised to see the same level of detail and ambition in a late PlayStation 2 game, but the cell shading, colours more than make up for that. Now apparently when Aragami was initially released back in 2016, it was met with lukewarm reception due to it feeling a little undercooked in terms of features, plus technical issues holding it back. The developers did not give up and continued to tweak and improve it until they had something to be proud of. Does that hard work in optimization transition to the Nintendo Switch though? Well, performance is mostly alright, although it does have its fair share of minor stutters from time to time, and they are noticeable. It's a shame because the game doesn't look like it should be especially taxing on the Switch. I didn't notice it interfere with the gameplay, which is the main thing. Some people will be more forgiving of it than others, and I'm leaning on the forgiving side, even though I believe it probably shouldn't happen. Then again, I'm not a game developer, so what do I know? The visuals can look a bit jaggy, especially in cutscenes when characters are shown much closer up. It's not a major problem during gameplay, however, and is practically negated while playing in handheld mode. Aragami is priced at $29.99 and £24.99 on the US and UK eShop respectively, although I believe there's a 10% discount for pre-orders and for the first week of sale. Is it worth it? I think so. You can see the budget and effort gone into this, even if it's an indie game. You'll get a solid, enjoyable gameplay plus all the DLC that's previously been released for it. While the main game's length coupled with the DLC may not be a whole lot of time, I would say about 7 or 8 hours, I would have been personally satisfied with my purchase. It may be worth noting that Aragami is getting a physical release, so if you want to buy that, then consider using our Amazon store in the description. It's at no extra cost to you and it really helps us out since we can get a small commission, which helps improve the channel a lot. If you're fine going for digital, then the download size is a respectable 3.2 gigabytes, so it's not taking up a massive amount of space like some other games out there. Before we get into my final thoughts, as always, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment. If you're new here, then do everyone a favor and hit that subscribe button and that little bell. You know what YouTube is like these days for not showing new content, and we don't want you to miss out on our reviews and features. Overall, Aragami is a good game, there's no doubt about that. It lacks the polish you would hope for though, and despite enjoying it very much, I couldn't help feel its stealth mechanics and design were leaning towards a more simple side. But then again, not everything has to be in depth or have that AAA sheen. You'll get some good stealthy fun that you might actually want to replay a few times over with different playstyles and difficulties. I know I would consider it if I had the time. I like the shadow jumping mechanic, which is very satisfying to use, as well as the challenge which, although it could be a little frustrating, really got me pumped up to conquer it. I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I wish it had more depth, but it is what it is and it's still a good game. I've been Jordan from SwitchWatch, and this has been Aragami.